Okay, welcome to our next in our series of data-driven agriculture webinars. And we're not only webinar, of course, we're in person here in the Dean's Auditorium at Fenver Hall. And the purpose of these is to for us to have a forum to talk about data science and how we can better manage forests and crops and livestock and food processes and all these things using more of a data-driven approach. And so just to make sure that everyone is aware of some of our resources, we have the Digital Ag Resources website. We work with WIN, the Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, and you can see that there is a UAV site there too. So if you're not familiar with those sites, you can see them there on this introductory slide here. So a little bit also about some of our upcoming webinars. You see we have 4 on the calendar after this one. Every couple of weeks, it looks like. We're going to be talking forestry and natural resources here toward the end of the month. We're going to learn about DIAL, it looks like. I'm really interested to learn about the Digital Innovation and Agri-Food Lab from Dr. Alan Gray. That's going to be a good one. From the Cruise Lab, and working with Christian Cruz, so always very interesting things. And then an update on plant sciences. I know there's been more investment in that, and I'm sure you'll all be interested in learning about that too. So if you have a question, if you're not in the room, type it in the chat, and Dennis Buckmaster will be moderating the chat, monitoring the chat. In the room here, you can raise your hand, or you can just press the microphone. And I hope today's discussion is very free-flowing. And that's how I always like panel discussions. I've done a lot of panel discussions in my life. And we're very interested. I'll have them introduce themselves. We're very happy to have 3 people. We wanted people representing different sectors of agribusiness. And so I think we did pretty well in getting a good group here together. And so as the moderator, it's my job really to make sure that your comments are all heard and that I keep my mouth shut as much as possible, which is a little hard for me sometimes, I have to tell you. So anyway, we really appreciate your time today and coming to help our students and help us as faculty and staff at Purdue to better understand the data type needs that are occurring here. And so for students, so they can plan their pathway of study, and for us at Purdue, so we can better understand, are we developing the right courses? Do we have the right majors and minors and plans of study and all those types of things? And so anyway, I'm going to kick things off here now, and hopefully won't be too much like Chuck Todd on the Sunday morning news show here. I'll try to be a little more lively than that. But anyway, I think if you're out on Zoom, type in your questions, and if you're here, so let's just go ahead and get started. And so let's first of all, we can just go left to right here. And Keith, you just start out and just first of all, tell us your name, company, and position, and we're going to pass the mic back and forth here, and a bit about what you do, just so we have a little bit of context here.
Sure. Keith Tinsey, Black Oak Farms. My background is farming and agricultural engineering. I have a degree from Michigan State University, where I met Dr. Buckmaster years ago, and a master's from North Carolina State. Most of my career has been in storage and post-harvest technology in potatoes, shipping and sales and customer service. And now my role with Black Oak Farm is more on the operations side, where you're trying to develop and grow high-yielding, high-quality potatoes for potato chips.
Okay, very good. Shrinivas.
Shrinivas, I'm with Elanco and for the past 5 years. My background is in plant side of things. So I did my undergrad in agriculture, master's in genetics and plant breeding, and PhD in molecular biology and bioinformatics. My career has taken me in different directions. Worked on cyber infrastructure for infectious diseases, then back into plants again. I worked at Agrosciences and now in animal health at Elanco for the past 5 years.
And Robin, we're very glad you're here too.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Robin Thomas with Syngenta, been with the company for 36 years. Started out in field sales and then went to marketing technology. Got out of there just before they figured out I'm the borderline computer illiterate. Went to marketing communications. I've been in sales training, managed the developmental sales rep and sales intern program. And now I lead the university relations and early talent acquisition function at Syngenta. And yes, we do have internships still available. So,
Okay, and the person that has the microphone has the power, and so while you still have the power,
this is dangerous.
I want to ask you, each of the panelists then to just a quick thumbnail sketch of your company, where you are in the distribution channels and what are the types of things that your company does. And your company is a really big company. Yeah.
It is.
So-
We're a global agriculture company, crop protection and seed products. And our crop protection includes not only row crops, but professional products as well. Everything from home pest control or industrial pest control to turf, ornamental landscaping, golf courses. And then our seeds division and their global headquarters is just up the road in Downers Grove. And we have vegetables and flowers as well as your typical row crops, corn and soy. And you may think of Super Sweet 100 tomatoes, that's ours. I grew it for a couple of years before I knew it was one of ours. And we do both two-step, three-step, and direct distribution. So,
Well, I love those tomatoes from the garden more than I love them from the grocery store.
yeah.
Okay, Shrinivas, a little bit about Elanco. And I think many of us here are familiar with all your companies, but I want to hear it from you too.
So, Elanco, as you know, is in animal health space. So we, again, Elanco is a global company too. We operate in about 90 countries and have more than 400 brands that we sell in animals. So the kind of animals we work with is pet animals and livestock, as well as fish. We sell products like antibiotics, therapeutics, and even knowledge, data science-based products, digital products, and knowledge solutions to our customers. So in addition to that, there are a lot of different new areas that we are getting into in terms of assessing, having digital products to assess the impact of agriculture, especially in the ongoing global climate change area as well.
And you're headquartered in Greenfield, isn't that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we are headquartered in Greenfield, and I am in the research and development group, leading a computational sciences group.
Okay.
We have different disciplines within each, bioinformatics, genomics, computational chemistry, cheminformatics, data science, supporting primarily early discovery projects, but also across other areas too, working with product launch, as well as working with regulatory agencies on existing products, looking at, for example, impact on antimicrobial resistance, as well as impact of methane production in relation to the global climate change as well.
Yeah, and you're involved in a lot of stuff. My gosh. And what about Keith? What about Black Gold? Tell us a thumbnail of Black Gold Farms.
Sure. Black Gold Farms is a proud family farm in the third generation. We're based in North Dakota. The farm was started many years ago and has expanded into multiple states. As a service to a customer, our biggest customer, Purdue, asked us to go grow in many different states. So we grow potatoes in Michigan, Indiana, North Carolina, Florida, Missouri, Arkansas. And then another joint venture with Lamb Weston later in sweet potatoes in Louisiana. And so we have a multi-state footprint. It is a family-owned farm. It's very family-oriented. But it does have a corporate structure. So we have some higher level infrastructure, and then down to the farm level, potatoes are raised or grown in the dirt, right? And so we serve our customers. We dig those potatoes, we wash them. It becomes high level food product and goes right to their factories within hours. It's in a bag of potatoes.
So with that context of where you all are coming from, let's explore some of the topics related to today's discussion about data science needs. And so, Shrinivas, let's just start with you, and let me just ask you, in general, not specific for data science, how are things in terms of filling positions within your company? Because I mean, word on the street is you can't find anyone to work nowadays. What's the situation at Elanco?
Yeah, so when it comes to data science, it's a pretty broad field, right? So we have requirements in lots of different areas, all the way from market analytics to early discovery, different areas. Again, data science is one of the core aspects across the company these days. Everything is data centric. So as we are collecting more data for our experiments in early discovery, as well as market analysis on which products are markets to target at. So that has a lot of different needs in terms of getting people from biology background, math background, computational science, computer science background, now with robotics, computer vision. So a lot of these things are capturing videos and images and accelerometers and so on. We have lots of different needs in a lot of different areas. So it's so hard to put it in one or few sentences as to the breadth of the data science positions.
And so let's just drill down a bit into Elanco here, though. What are some of the positions that you are filling now or hope to fill that are data heavy within Elanco? Give an example at least of a couple things.
Okay, so some of them are more advanced, like advanced degrees. So especially in my group, primarily focused on graduates in biology or bioinformatics or chemistry, with more data science background as well. High throughput data generation, as well as there's a lot of coding, scripting, as well as classical statistical analysis, for example, and combining more. The latest technology we are using is on the computer vision. We are gathering data from farms, video data, as well as electronic nose data and accelerometer data. So we have positions to use machine learning, AI, and in general statistics as well. Lots of different positions.
If you find a person that's really good, that would fill a good role in your company, and they're off-site, I mean, they're not in central Indiana, say that they're in Texas or California or something, are you good to still hire those people, or how does that work?
Yes, we have lots, especially, give an example of my group. Right now, I'm the only person who is at Greenfield.
Okay.
The rest of them are remote. In New York, in Michigan, and even outside the US as well.
So I guess my point is, if students are listening here, is that it used to be back when I was a college student looking for jobs, you were very location specific, but now that barrier has evaporated for many jobs. You can be where you maybe would more desire to be, So, let's hear the situation in Syngenta, Robin, and I guess.
I'd like to make one more point.
Oh, please, yes. I always like it when you interrupt.
It's been almost 2 years since I've been to our headquarters. So I've been working from home since
2 years.
Almost 2 years now.
And that's less than an hour's drive for you, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. No, I've heard of other people making such claims, and you should just not even go, just to like set a record for that, you know, so. Yeah, Robin, go ahead, and I'll just refresh you, I guess, first of all, how are things in general for hiring? Are you able to, are you short on people? Are you know, really trying hard to get people in general, and then specifically the data science, if you could address that?
I'm gonna give you a very definitive answer. It depends. A lot of it depends on the role, actually,
Yeah, okay.
and to get back to the location requirements, a lot of it depends on that as well.
Yeah.
Competing in the IT space right now, the data space, data science space, is particularly difficult because we're competing for candidates against Cisco, IBM, all these data companies.
Mhm.
And it's important that we get our message out into what our greater purpose is in feeding the world in a sustainable manner. And a lot of our data is driven toward that sustainability aspect to measure everything from the soil properties and how that impacts to data, drone imagery and how the data intersects. One of our coolest internships, and it hasn't been filled yet, is a blend of data and imaging. And it is taking data points from drone imagery, tissue sampling, soil sampling, the whole 9 yards, and seeing where it intersects for the most impact. And where are those areas that we need to stay away from, that we need to avoid, because there might be some negative impacts there. But now I focus on interns and entry-level positions.
And that's why, I mean, that's why we have a diversity here. Yes, no, perfect. Yeah.
And I was looking, we still have about 6 to 8 internships open that I'm aware of in this space. And it's everywhere from, we want somebody with an agricultural base and computer skills. And I think that's going to be increasingly important, especially as the data gets out to certain farmers and it's out in the field more, not just with your drone technology, your field mapping, traceability. That's something that is out there for most products. Walmart wants you to prove for optimum shelf space that your product was sustainably sourced and be able to trace it back to its beginnings. I think we're going to see that in agriculture too. I think it's just a matter of time, and we've got the infrastructure in place to produce that.
Would it be a correct statement to say that, like the competitive success of your company compared to other players in this field, and there are several others I can think of, it is your ability to capture data and analyze it and understand it? Is that one of the key factors of your future success?
In more ways than one, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, capturing the data, using the data to the benefit of not just the farmers, but the global sustainability.
Yeah.
Global warming, methane emissions. We're doing a lot in that area. So
yeah, and I know I've worked with Syngenta for like 20, 30 years, and for a long time, you've been leaders in the sustainability efforts. And so that's really good to hear. Keith, how about we check in with Black Oak Farms? And again, you have a bit of a different realm. How are you able to fill positions in general? And then speak specifically to data science and the needs that you have in Black Oak.
Yeah, we're holding our own on positions. I think probably the biggest position that we look for is agronomy, because the agronomy is ever changing. It's difficult though, because there's still a lot of institutional knowledge that has to be acquired in agriculture. So folks coming out of school are well prepared, to solve problems, but they need some experience to become super effective down the road. The one position that we do kind of struggle with is, and it's a tough position, it's at the farm manager level. these farm managers have to be a jack of all trades and, know a little bit about human resources, people, data, and budgeting, and then put that all together to maintain the crop and grow a crop. One thing that Robin touched on and mentioned as we were chatting before is that Syngenta actually asked Black Growth to partner with them to further the development of data. And where that's coming from is we get it from our customers, like Walmart, Shears, Frito-Lay. And so they're asking us to help reduce greenhouse gases, traceability of where their food comes from. And we're kind of all in this together. And so we work closely with Purdue and Mexico to develop these metrics to go into cool farm food or something like that. But there's so many ways to describe food, an acre, a gallon, a unit of fertilizer, things like that. It's somewhat daunting.
Well, it's been my understanding that potatoes are quite high maintenance. They tend to suffer from a lot of diseases, a lot of insects, a lot of other things. And I have no idea how you store these in these huge piles that I've seen and keep them all in condition. That's got to be a really big challenge. And so I would think that you have a lot of needs.
Yeah, data storage in particular use data generated by computers and machines to use temperature feedback.
Yeah.
As well as biochemical feedback from the sugars that are contained in the potato and what we know about their biology and physiology. And to steal a line from Ron earlier is that potatoes grow just so they can die and get ready to die. They're very delicate.
Yeah. Well, I know I have a lot. I have 2 rows in my garden every year, and I know that the potato beetles are always there, so. And so let's just take a bit of a break here now, and it looks like we might have a question or two online. So Dennis, please.
So someone was asking, and I think it was directed to Robert, but the others can answer as well. Do you consider pre-college internships for students, wannabe students, even before they start college, to learn about opportunities?
Great question.
We don't hire them now pre-college. However, we do look at their pre-college experience. So any of those internships that they had in high school, between high school and college, absolutely matter a lot.
I can add to that. At Elanco, we particularly start with undergrad interns, but again, like Robin said, we look for some experience in high school as well.
I don't think we practice it here, but I love it. We're looking for special people. And if they're an FFA and doing some certain things, perhaps they're identified really as a special person. And if you are a special person and want to be that special person, break the barrier and contact the company that you want to work for before you go to college. Make it happen.
Okay, so what about anyone in the room here? Any questions that have come up? We'll take your questions now. Anything else in the queue, Dennis? Otherwise, we'll just continue on here. And please ask questions, because that makes the panel discussion a lot more lively, especially if we can stump one of these 3. No, I'm just kidding. We would never try to do that. Yes.
So when you're looking to push the button,
Yeah, hold it so the green light.
So when you're having individuals coming in for internships, are you having more difficulty getting people with the agricultural knowledge, or more people with the data knowledge, or really just like both and not getting that combination?
Very good.
The purple unicorn is actually the person with an ag background and crazy computer skills. And the industry is so young in this space that if you're coming in now, there are going to be more people coming in behind you, and there are going to be all kinds of opportunities to advance.
So it's interesting, back in years past, I'll just reflect, I'm going to acting kind of like the grandpa here, but it used to be, it was like in a lot of agribusiness positions, it was a person that had really excellent sales skills versus their agronomic skills. That's my field. And we would often say that, well, salespeople are born, you can teach them the agronomy type of thing, and so I'm wondering if there's that kind of dynamic. Shrinivas, you want to talk about how it is in Elanco?
Yeah, at Elanco, so we have, whenever we hire in an intern, of course, everybody proposes their ideas for the internship program, and we try to match the skill sets needed for those particular projects. But in addition to the project deliverables, we give them opportunity to interact with anybody else in the company, whether it's helping them learn new things that are totally unrelated to the project they're working on. So that gives them a better idea about what's happening within the company, what other opportunities are there, just to give them an insight that will hopefully help them make better decisions if they want to pursue a particular track that they haven't thought about before. So that's a good exchange of ideas and a lot of mentorship as well.
So if you're looking to hire someone, and let's just say you have a couple of candidates, and Robin alluded to this with her internships. So let's say that, she says the holy grail is to have someone that's a great computer type person, but with an agricultural knowledge too. What if you have one of each candidate? What if you have a really solid data science person that has no ag skills? What if you have a really strong ag person with limited data skills? Which one will you hire? Because you might, with limited resources, you might be in that. Can you ramp up ag, or can you ramp up data science? Which one is easier to ramp up after you've hired them?
Yeah, that's a good question, because in our group, that's where we struggle with when we are trying to fill in positions. Again, the answer is there's no one answer for that. It depends on the position, the kind of gap we have, and the necessity for that particular skill set. Ideally, we would like to have somebody who is good in that particular space. If we are looking at, let's say, a genomics person, we'd like to hire somebody with a genomics background, and sometimes we can fill in some things that they may be missing on the animal health side. For example, when I joined, I had very little experience with animals.
Yeah, you said you're crops.
I'm crops, but it was easy to learn some of those skills over time. You get the opportunity to attend these different meetings, these internal seminars, and so on, and build up your skills. You can go to different experts. One of the great things of working in a large company is you can find a diversity of expertise, and you can make use of their mentorship to build those. So to answer your question, there's no, it depends.
It's always a continuum, yes.
Yeah, so I would say as long as you have some background in the science, so IT is important, but science, you need to have the some background, but also go with an open mind. You have to always be in learning mode, so that will definitely help you in growing and progressing in your career.
And add.
Okay, yeah, let's go to Robin here next, and then we'll catch Keith.
So if we have the two candidates you were talking about, just phenomenal ag skills, and another one with phenomenal IT skills, there's probably a position in the company for both of those. And that's one thing that I'm really proud of Syngenta for doing, is sharing the candidates across departments. And one manager calling up and saying, hey, I've got these two. I'm thinking about hiring this one. This one looks good for your position. So getting back to the advantages and benefits of a large company like this, there's probably opportunities.
And I think there's more and more of that happening. I think in the past, often companies tried to push people into pigeonholes that they maybe weren't as good at. And I see a lot more of that type of thing with location, with changing the role better to fit them, and those types of things. And what's the situation with you in all those areas?
I agree with you guys a lot. I especially like fitting the person to the role. There's that possibility.
Yeah.
At our farms, you will tend to find the folks that are skilled in data and can navigate software and have a sense of the flows and the menuing. They rise up to the top because they're the ones fixing everybody else's cell phone or data issue. And so they bubble up, so that's a great skill. Give them the choice, and assuming that they both have solid backgrounds from Purdue University, I'm gonna look for their potential. And that, you start to dig into their character and perhaps something of personality or something like strengths finders that you can expose just a little bit more of an intro perspective of how they might operate. And if they have potential, then the inquisitive nature and the learning, they're gonna ramp up really fast. And that would be the one that I was gonna pick out, the potential, not necessarily whether they're lacking something.
Well, I have a lot more questions here, but has this discussion inspired any questions from the room here? Yeah, Megan.
So, thank you all. I really enjoyed this, especially since some of this was even a possibility when I was here, I don't think, in school. But as we look at what Purdue can do to help your companies get the best workforce, are there areas that we should be making sure our undergraduates and graduates have experience in? Are there things that you're seeing that maybe we aren't addressing, and not maybe just Purdue, but other universities? I'd be interested in maybe kind of like looking out and saying, this is what we're going to need in the future. So especially around that digital agriculture, data science area.
I can go and also plug in for another program that I'm involved with Purdue. So the Purdue data mine is something that Elanco is involved in, and probably there are a lot of other companies involved in that too. So opportunities like that will definitely help in both for the companies to source talent in the future, but also for students to see what kinds of projects, real world problems they can solve through programs like that. So,
And you work with the data mine here, I know.
yes.
Yeah.
So data mine is an interesting project within industry and academia. So if you have an opportunity to participate in that, reach out to your faculty and get in touch with this program. So we have a lot of funded projects that happen in that program.
Let me just do a follow-up then, and then we'll go to you, Robin. Give me a sense of how well is Purdue doing in providing you with, and other universities too. We've got this data-rich future. We're going to need people that can analyze huge data sets. I mean, I understand one of my colleagues here at Purdue, I didn't realize this. I mean, I work with sometimes an Excel spreadsheet with 5 columns and 20 rows. They're dealing with billions of data points, and it's a very different world. How well are Purdue and other places preparing for jobs with Elanco?
Yeah, so an interesting question on the depth of different types of IT skills needed for data science. So
yeah,
there are things that we can get away with using Excel, and there are things that probably need much more advanced scripting skills or advanced tools to work with the data. And regardless of where you are in that skill set, we still need all kinds of people. People who are comfortable with Excel, people who are comfortable using Python, R, or other scripting languages. So,
but are we filling your need? I guess is
yes.
my question.
The
Okay.
question for me is not which path you use to solve a problem. It's like how you solve a problem, right? So whether you are able to answer those questions we are looking for. And I think, for example, in our data mine program, we have students who have from computer science background, and we have students in biology background. But I've seen, all of them do a good job in analyzing the data, either using Excel or R. And I can tell you that regardless of your comfort level, you can produce excellent results in analyzing the data.
Well, I want to come back to you, but Robin had something she was going to say, and so.
Yeah, I was just going to say that one of the things that Purdue does a phenomenal job at is helping students develop their soft skills. the leadership skills. They have the opportunity to lead clubs and organizations. And I've never experienced anything like the Ag Council here that's completely run by students. That's amazing. And those are the differences, I think you alluded to it earlier, those are the differences in the candidates. Now, the education is great here as well. So the soft skills is what's going to set that student apart.
And let me ask the question a little bit different. I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, though, ask it in a different way.
Okay.
So, yeah, and you'd be a good one to answer this too. Is there an area that we're not doing so well in? And I know we're doing overall quite well, but I mean, we want to always be as the best we can be. And so, I mean, how can we go from B plus to A? You know, or I'm not saying we're B plus, but that was kind of bad. How can we go from A minus to A?
A to A plus.
There you go.
There you go. See,
I'm gonna have to edit that out.
you're gonna have to, because if my department head sees this, I might be talking to one of you guys. So yeah, go ahead.
It's great attitude, just be a little bit better every day.
Right.
The aggregation of marginal improvement. And so, I think, you're getting there. Like, I'm not dissatisfied with any university turning out students. The one thing I'm really excited about that Dennis Buckmaster showed me this morning is this precision ag data miner. And we encompass the Internet of Things, sensors, where the data comes from, whether it's manually entered, follow that through perhaps validation into database, knowing a little bit about coding, a little bit about how databases work with SQL, being a little bit statistical savvy to understand if you have, is this good? What are the tendencies that help us? And then somehow reporting it out, like how can, and then helping make a decision. That's really exciting for that program. Tremendous.
So none of you are going to be critical about Purdue, which is great. I'm really glad to hear that, because like I say, we're always trying to improve. And if you're interested in the data-driven miner, you can go to the Purdue catalog and you can learn all about that. I mean, if students are listening in, I have some information about that here, but anything else you want to add, Keith?
Well, back to the soft skills a little bit, we're hitting on this. We have the people matter. Like the technical stuff is great, but if you can help the students look into themselves a little bit and help them understand what makes them tick, so that they know how to fit within an organization, they'll be able to assess and understand where they can be most successful or happiest.
How do you perceive Purdue is doing compared to other universities and other land grants or whatever in terms of data science?
Just to answer your previous question as well, if you look at the number of alumni in our company, lots of them are from Purdue, a lot
Right.
of them are in successful positions, so they're doing an excellent job. So, so in terms of, like what the panel members mentioned, networking and aptitude to learn new things. I think that's really important because every day I go, there's a new challenge to be solved. So that means you need to learn what the challenges are, bring in the right people to understand, get a better picture before you can solve that effectively. So keep an open mind, listen to your teammates, customers, and then act on it. So those are the important things we look for in new candidates when hiring. So yeah, keep an open mind. Communication skills are important. Networking is important so that you get a better picture of the kinds of problems you're solving and you'll be more effective in solving these problems.
Okay, any questions, Dennis, or any from the room here before we continue on? I have a few more questions here, but anyone want to just talk about something that they're interested in here? Robin, do you have things that you want to say that we'll just, I don't have to control everything. My wife.
That's not what I heard. One of the things that popped in my mind is we were talking here, is it's surprising to me that students are unaware sometimes of all the opportunities that are out there. And it's kind of mind-boggling, I guess, because there are so many different opportunities out there. And I don't know if Purdue's doing this, you probably are, but more and more universities are coming to us saying, help us do a secondary education outreach to get to the students and let them know while they're in high school what some of these opportunities are, so they can make better decisions as they're entering college. So, and helping us get the word out on those opportunities. Getting back to the communication skills, you can have technical skills off the charts, but if you can't communicate that to an employer, you're missing out. So.
And I've understood that my whole career, because I have always felt like I wanted to be a better communicator than I am. I think I'm okay, but I always want to be better. So what advice, Robin, would you have for students as they're thinking about their future? You know, for the students that are listening, what types that you've already talked about the big importance of communication skills, but what other skills, and then I'll have Shrinivas and Keith chime in, what other skills are critical, do you think? You work a lot with students.
Right. Work ethic, time management, that's critically important in today's environment. Prioritization skills, presentation skills. There's so many times when you're presenting, and you may not even realize you're in a situation where you're presenting, but you are. Those are probably the big soft skills that we focus on.
And it's interesting. I mean, I deal with a whole range of employers too. And like some employers tell me, and I don't think in your realms at all, but they're just happy if their people show up at work in the morning. I mean, there's that too. But I can't imagine that's the situation with any of the three companies we're dealing with here. So, yeah. But go ahead.
Well, one thing I encourage students to do, even though that means maybe not having every internship with Syngenta, but explore. I mean, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? And explore that as your career opportunity. When you're getting internships, get an internship in that and see if you really do like it.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, you're building a network outside of the area that you end up in, which makes you more flexible. So.
Now, what do you two have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, companies incentivize productivity, right? So
Right.
There is a lot of opportunity for growth, and these are internal motivation skills where you identify your strengths, you identify the challenges the company has, and identify where you best fit and where you can be most productive. And that's how you grow your career both within the company as well as your professional career as well. So I would say the first few years when you get a chance, either through internship or postdocs, we also hire postdocs as well. If anybody intends to go into graduate school and get a PhD or master's, is to learn all the different areas of the company, right? So that way you understand life is not limited to what you have accomplished so far. There are a lot of avenues both within the company to expand your horizon, as well as see how other areas interest.
Yeah, I agree. As I was thinking or listening.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
I got thinking of some of the folks that would intern at Blackboard for 2 or 3 years, and then we would hire them. And I'm like, it's not a good idea. And we do it because we love them and they're awesome, but they've never worked anywhere else.
Oh, I see.
And like, you have to have some different bosses. If you're in a big company like Elanco, you can move around. But within Blackboard, we're somewhat narrow. We can move around a little bit, but get some diversity in your experience wherever it can come from. But a big one is getting to have different bosses is to understand that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I've had lots of different careers in my lifetime here. So in the past, that maybe wasn't looked upon favorably, but
One thing that can help students, and I don't know if you can teach this, is sorting and prioritizing what matters or what's important and what is trivial. We're bombarded by so much information and choices about how to be productive during our day. What's tactical, what's today, what needs to happen now with the data that's coming in, and how do we get better for next year?
Okay, I definitely appreciate that, and I could use some skill development in that area too. So before we take final comments here, let me just do a little bragging on Purdue. And you have a question, but let me a couple of things here too. So across Purdue's campus, there are over 230 courses I found that might be considered data science in some form. That are wrapped around computation, sensing analysis, statistics, data science, data literacy management or its application. Keith, you talked about the data-driven minor. Just want to make sure across the university, we have the certificate in data science. Did I say that right? In the College of Agriculture, there are over 40 undergraduate courses that have a major data science component. There are over 20 graduate courses. And we have extension classes like for drones. There's an online class that I manage in precision ag. And so at the graduate level, there's also a graduate certificate in geospatial data science. And we're also working with high schools too. So I mean, there's lots more than that. So your parting comments today as we wrap up. You have the power stick there, Shrinivas.
Reflecting on my own ideas about science and data and analytical interests. So, assuming that you're all interested in agriculture, you're here because you're interested in data science, follow your passion, find opportunities for growing yourself and exposing to different kinds of projects, different kinds of problems or industry, because in each one of these areas within ag, there are lots of different ways to intersect, either on the science, on the mathematical side, or computational science, if you are interested in robotics. So you can make impact in all of these different areas. And as we are progressing through the new age of information, everything is data-centric. Even our decisions are extremely data-centric. And having that mindset of using data in making your decisions and the whole journey of converting that data into information into knowledge, and knowledge into decisions is important. And that's where we are all in that same path to get to those decisions quickly by making use of all of the data that we have available.
And I should have checked with Dennis before I had final comments here, but before we get to the other two's final comments, Dennis, your question in the queue.
Sure, I'll let you ask you first. That's a very good one. Are your employees interested in continuing their education following, for example, an online certificate, graduate certificate, degree, or undergraduate program? If so, what programs are they looking for, and what would you value? And I will just add to that, not to make it too complicated, where do you go to get those things?
I'll go since I have the mic. We actively encourage people to take courses. Like nowadays, you can do online classes as well.
Right.
A lot of universities have. There's Coursera and alike. We encourage them to go to conferences, professional workshops, and so on. So that's part of the continuing education. And in many cases, we also encourage people to take management classes, for example, for select individuals who have potential in that space. Companies provide them with opportunities to do MBA, to do PhD or masters, lots of different opportunities to grow while you're working.
Yeah, we have the same opportunities basically, and I don't know how many people are completing a master's degree right now while we speak. But we also partner with Purdue for our advanced agribusiness. I had to write this down because we speak in acronyms. accelerated agribusiness leadership program.
Right, I know the Center for Food and Agribusiness has always worked with, I think, all your companies. Yeah,
Right.
right. And Keith, what about full-time professionals in your company, like a 50-something person? How do they wrap up?
Well, that's a good point, because a lot of the things that we're talking about, I was never taught, and I'm not that good at. And,
I hear you.
yeah, so we probably don't promote that as well as we could.
Yeah.
We definitely, in the potato industry, Syngenta is a huge partner in the potato industry and Leadership Institute. And, you know, a lot of times we don't know what we don't know down on the farm perhaps. And just coming and exposing myself and visiting the department today has taught me a lot of what could be. Because you're in these areas that were probably deficit.
And any final parting comments? We'll just take any from you, Keith, anything that you've been wanting to say that haven't, and then we'll finish up with Robin.
Well, the one thing we kind of circle around this a lot today, and as the incoming president for the American Society of Agricultural and Biological Engineers, with a little bit of a plug there, I just want to say, don't do something. Don't lose your systems approach to solving problems and helping the world. With life cycle assessments and circular economy and things, this systems approach is different, and people don't understand that it's a real powerful tool in our world to solve things. All of agriculture is full of that. Keep going in that area. It's a little known and very, very strong thing that we have.
Okay, really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, so just adding to that, Elanco is in the business of providing protein for the world. And so if you're passionate about that, passionate about animals, if you love cats and dogs, if you love pets, you know, it's an excellent place to come and work. And there are a lot of opportunities while you're still studying here to interact with companies in different ways. Internship, you know, engagements like data mine and finding jobs that you're interested in on our websites, and even emailing people who work in companies. So even if they may not work out, and give you great ideas about what's the future career and opportunities for you to work with different companies.
And Robin, your final thoughts here today.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, I just want to say, Syngenta really values and appreciates our partnership with Purdue. And I was just talking to a couple of Purdue alum that I had hired when I was managing the DSRs a few years ago. But for students, I would say be brave, be curious, and be known. I'm here kind of by accident. The dean of the College of Agriculture was approached for a recommendation. I didn't even know I was on his radar. But he scheduled the interview for me the morning after graduation. But yeah, but and he was a Purdue alum, by the way. So be brave and talk to your professors, talk to industry professionals when we're on campus. Take advantage of it. Resume reviews, mock interviews, or just come through the career fairs and introduce yourself. Get to know a little bit more about us. Reach out on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Shrinivas. Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate you here today and giving us insight, not only faculty and staff, but our students that are very interested in this topic. And I think at this point, I think it's time to close up the discussion and get you all on the road before the freezing rain and the snow sets in. So any final thoughts from anyone else here? I think we'll wrap up. So we'll meet again like 3 or 4 weeks, I think, is the next digital or data-driven agriculture seminar. And with that, thanks everyone.